Over the weekend, I was eating breakfast and I just so happened to open the Peacock app and I just so happened to see that Djokovic was playing tennis in the French Open. Tennis is one of 3 sports that I give a shit about, but I don't follow it that closely, so I didn't even realize the French Open was happening, but I turned on the match and I ended up catching literally the last 5 minutes of the match. For those of you who don't know much about tennis, there are 4 major competitions a year. They're called the Grand Slams, and this is the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. So these are the really big deal tennis competitions. And it turns out this was the final. So this was the end of the men's series and Djokovic won. Aside from enjoying tennis in general, I have always had a particular interest in Djokovic because he has long been rumored to be or said to be vegan. But is he actually vegan? A few years ago, there was a lot of vegan buzz for the, at the time, Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams. There was understandably a lot of excitement among vegans and vegan media about a vegan politician and what that could mean. I think a lot of people heralded him as sort of a beacon of hope for the vegan movement. Then there was a big scandal that had everyone questioning everything. Today we're going to be exploring whether or not these 2 people are actually vegan and if it even matters whether they are or not. We as vegans tend to get super excited over having vegan celebrities and public figures, understandably so, and that excitement gets filtered through vegan media outlets like Veg News and PETA. But then there's oftentimes this great disappointment when people don't live up to our expectations. Miley Cyrus and Steve-O are 2 examples of celebrities who at one time were celebrated within the vegan movement for being out and proud vegan celebrities, and then at some point announced that they were not vegan anymore, and it caused a lot of disappointment within the vegan community. So I've been wondering, do we set ourselves up to make the movement look bad when we celebrate someone for being vegan in the media? I think celebrating public figures for being vegan is a double-edged sword. Honestly, I think celebrating celebrities at all is a double-edged sword. I talk about this in the Aubrey Plaza video. However big a story it is when a celebrity goes vegan, it seems like it's an equally big story when they stop being vegan. Honestly, I feel like it's even a bit different when it comes to athletes and politicians versus Hollywood celebrities. I would argue it's even more exciting. For an elite athlete to be vegan helps dispel the misconception that you can't be strong or have a ton of energy or perform at a high level without eating animal products. And for politicians, it's exciting because these people have a tangible impact on policies that shape the world we live in. Before we get any further into it, just a reminder to subscribe if you haven't yet, give this video a thumbs up, and tap the notification bell to be notified when I upload. Thank you so much, and let's get into it. Let's start with discussing Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is a Serbian tennis player. With this recent French Open win, he now holds the record for most Grand Slam wins in men's tennis. He has won 23 Grand Slams, so he was tied with Nadal at 22, and he has now surpassed Nadal. He has discussed the fact that he's on a plant-based diet multiple times, but he has refused to say that he's vegan, and he has stated he doesn't like labels.
Somebody has chalked all over Wimbledon town centre, Djokovic is a vegan. Is this true, and if so, why have you made that choice?
I like to call, I don't like the labels, you know, to be honest. So I do eat plant-based for quite a few years already. But, you know, because of the misinterpretations of labels and misuse of labels, I just don't like that kind of names.
In an early 2020 interview with Graham Bensinger, he shares a little bit about his history. Before he was ever plant-based, early in his career, he really struggled with respiratory issues, which he calls a mild version of asthma, and this very negatively affected his tennis game and his recovery time. He started working with a doctor named Dr. Igor Sedojevic, not sure about the pronunciation there, and through his guidance, he ended up cutting out gluten, dairy, and refined sugar. He says he eventually cut out meat because it took his body more energy to digest it. He ended up seeing incredible results both with his health and with his tennis game, and on multiple occasions he has credited his plant-based diet for helping him be a top tennis player, the top tennis player.
I do eat plant-based, and I think that's one of the reasons why I recover well, and you know, I don't have allergies that I used to have anymore, and I like it.
To me, listening to this story, this is clearly an example of someone who is plant-based for health and performance reasons to a T, but some vegan media outlets over the years have labeled Djokovic a vegan. There is this 2020 Veg News article, Tennis Star Novak Djokovic on Veganism. It's more than a performance for me, it's a lifestyle. This headline to me sounds very much like, wow, Djokovic is a vegan, like he follows a vegan lifestyle. And they use a quote from him where he said, it's a lifestyle more than just a diet because you have ethical reasons as well, being conscious of what's happening in the animal world. He talks about the slaughtering of animals, farming, climate change. He kind of just like touches on a few vegan talking points. Hopefully I can inspire other athletes that it is possible to be plant-based. So although he does mention animals here and says like, yeah, it's more of a lifestyle, he still, in my opinion, he still didn't say, yes, I'm vegan. He just kind of like hit on a few talking points, which I think a lot of people do when they're plant-based because they're like, yeah, this works with how I eat. This also, I recognize this also as an issue. But Veg News also said this in the article, Novak Djokovic credited his plant-based diet for helping him succeed as a professional athlete, explaining that his choice to eschew animal products is based on ethical beliefs. That, to me, is not true. He has said multiple times over the years he slowly transitioned into a diet that sort of seems like it just happened to be plant-based entirely for health and performance reasons. And them saying his choice to eschew animal products is based on ethical beliefs is really a stretching of the truth, in my opinion. I think vegan media, understandably, wants to use someone like him as a showcase for how strong and how healthy and high performing you can be on a vegan diet. But I think sometimes the mislabeling and mischaracterization ends up putting so much more meaning into it than is actually there. You really can't assign veganism to someone. You can't just be like, I'm hearing what you say and it sounds like you're a vegan, so I'm gonna call you that. As we know, veganism is something you really have to feel in your heart, in your soul. It is a decision that when someone makes, they have no problem being like, yes, I'm a vegan, I know what that means and I am one. Whereas Djokovic has said, I know what it means and I'm not one. If I had to guess, I would say he probably doesn't want the responsibility of being a vegan figurehead. I think a lot of public figures don't want that responsibility. After the Australian Open this year, PETA tweeted that the #1 men's singles tennis player is vegan. And actually PETA has tweeted a number of times about Djokovic being vegan. And there's this article about how a lot of people called PETA out in the comments being like, no, he's not, you didn't do your research, etc., etc. Obviously we have to take these responses with a grain of salt because the general public in general just don't like PETA and will look for any excuse to call them out. But I do agree with people's responses that are saying Djokovic has never called himself vegan. It just makes it look like we're pushing an agenda and are willing to bend the truth to make our agenda fit. People already have this negative stereotype of vegans as being agenda pushers, and I don't think this does us any favors. However, in contrast to the Djokovic story, this was kind of a nice story and a pleasant surprise that I found. There was a PETA article about plant-powered tennis players, which again, plant-powered is this kind of funny term that could mean anything from fully vegan to eats vegetables sometimes, but they had this list about tennis players and I was really surprised to see Nick Kyrgios on the list. Kyrgios is another tennis player and I am a huge fan of Kyrgios. He is sort of known as the bad boy of tennis. He mouths off at the umpires, he mouths off at the crowd.
Relax. Are you playing? Are you good at tennis? Exactly, so why are you speaking? If I tell him how to act? No.
He mouths off at his friends in the stands.
Wow. Go home if you're not gonna score me, bro.
He breaks rackets. He sort of represents this departure from traditional tennis decorum and expectations that I find, and I think a lot of people find really refreshing. He also does all these trick shots. He's just really fun to watch, and I had never heard of him associated with vegetarianism or veganism before, but PETA linked to a blog post in Athlete's Voice that Kyrgios had written in response to the 2019 Australian wildfires. The blog was about the wildfires in general, how helpless he felt seeing his homeland burn, and also ways that people could help. And at the end of the blog, he said this: "I've been passionate about animal welfare for some time now. I don't eat meat or dairy anymore. That's not for my health. I just don't believe in eating animals. I tried a vegan diet a couple of years ago, but with all the travel I do, it was hard to stick to it. Since then, I've managed to make it work, and I've been vegetarian for quite a while. Seeing the footage of these animals suffering with the fires only reinforces why I've chosen this diet. When I see these terrible photos, I can't comprehend eating meat." He also did this interview with BBC in 2022 where he talks about his love of animals.
You know, people always ask me, is it for health or anything like that? It's not for health because I don't mind a pint of beer or anything like that. So I'm actually just doing it for the love of animals. I love animals, and it's so hard for me to eat them, I guess. I'm just trying to be the change that I want to see. But yeah, that's it. You know, I love animals, and I love the world. I love the environment. So I'm doing everything I can to you know, I guess prolong its welfare.
There's nothing wrong with being plant-based for health reasons or for athletic performance reasons, but it is so refreshing to see an elite athlete be like, yeah, I don't really care about my health. It's just for the animals. Like, that is such a breath of fresh air. So even though this BBC headline is titled Nick Kyrgios on why he's vegan, it sounds like what he says is he's vegetarian and he also doesn't eat dairy. Him saying, I tried a vegan diet a couple of years ago, with all the travel I do, it's hard. So to me, what I took from that is he's not saying, I'm currently vegan. It sounds like he's saying I'm currently vegetarian. So then there was this Veg News article, Australian fires inspire pro tennis player Nick Kyrgios to go vegan, which just isn't what Kyrgios said in the blog post. First of all, he said, I've cared about animal welfare for a long time now, and that's why I haven't eaten meat in quite a few years. It's questionable whether or not he's vegan now. He did say that seeing the animals hurt in the wildfires reinforces his not eating meat, but he certainly didn't say that the wildfires inspired him to go vegan. Wanted to pop in and share this interview that I found from 2022 in which Kyrgios says he eats a lot of fish, and he says, I'm a massive salmon lover, love it. It also says he stays away from meat and dairy products, and again quotes him saying, I love animals too much. Obviously, I see the cognitive dissonance in the juxtaposition of him saying, I'm a massive salmon lover and I love animals too much. One as a reason why he eats the thing he loves, and another as a reason why he doesn't eat the thing he loves. So clearly Kyrgios is not vegetarian, unless vegetarian means something completely different in Australia, and certainly not vegan like the Veg News article and this One Green Planet article stated. Is this a horrible headline? Is it highly problematic or highly unethical? No, of course not. But it is a bit of misreporting and misrepresenting what he said. As vegans, we have to fight so hard to prove our legitimacy in this world. And I just think, like I said before with the PETA thing, stretching the truth to fit our narrative, it just kind of cheapens our narrative a bit. Let's move on to Eric Adams. Eric Adams is the current mayor of New York City. Before that, he was a New York City police officer for a long time. Then he became a New York State senator, and then he was the Brooklyn Borough president, which he was the first African American to hold that position, and he became the mayor of New York City on January 1st, 2022. I remember hearing about Eric Adams a few years back. I remember people were really excited about the Brooklyn Borough president being plant-based and very outspoken about it. He adopted a plant-based diet in 2016 after being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and facing a treatment plan of taking insulin injections for the rest of his life. He did a bunch of research, consulted with a bunch of people, including Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr. of the Cleveland Clinic. He switched to a whole food plant-based diet that didn't have any processed sugar, oil, salt, or starches. He also changed his lifestyle and started exercising a lot more. And apparently within 6 months, he lost 30 pounds, reversed his diabetes, and reduced his blood pressure and cholesterol levels. As a result, he became a big proponent of whole food plant-based diets as a way to treat chronic disease.
My recovery is an indictment on our healthcare system. The sole goal should have been, when I was diagnosed, is Eric, we're going to get that reversed. Not Eric, we're going to give you the prescription you need that you can take for the rest of your life.
He was very vocal about this shift, and he became known as a vegan politician. Many vegan news sources lauded him as New York City's first vegan mayor. Since taking office as mayor, he has done a lot in terms of promoting plant-based eating. He launched Vegan Fridays, which requires all New York City public schools to serve vegan meals on Fridays. He said about that, "I love healthy food and I love life, and our children should not continually be fed food that's causing their healthcare crises, childhood obesity, childhood diabetes, and asthma." In February of 2022, his office announced the expansion of the lifestyle medicine clinic at New York City public hospitals in order to provide patients living with chronic disease the tools to make healthy lifestyle changes, including providing them access to plant-based diet resources. As of early 2023, all 11 New York City public hospitals are now serving plant-based meals as the primary dinner option, which is absolutely amazing for a hospital to have a vegan option be the default, and then if they want something else they can order it and the meals look delicious. So all of this sounds great, right? But here's where the trouble starts. Around February 2022, so not too long after he took office, a few reports came out about him having ordered fish multiple times out at restaurants. There were a series of these sort of gotcha articles. They were having fun with the headlines. He was confronted by questions about his diet at a press conference, and this is what he said.
How often do you eat fish, and do you eat any other animal proteins?
I eat a plant-based centered life. Some people want to call me vegan. Vegans eat Oreos and they drink Coca-Cola. I don't. I eat a plant-based centered life. And those who are the food police for me, they can food police all the time. I eat a plant-based centered life.
So you eat fish?
I eat a plant-based centered life. And I'm not going down that. Hold on, please. Don't do that yelling out stuff with me. I don't do it to you. Don't do it to me. I eat a plant-based centered life. And I'm not going down this rabbit hole of what do you eat? If you eat cake and it has eggs in it, did you analyze it? I'm not doing that. The more plant-based you eat, the better and healthier you are. That is my question to those who are following me around in restaurants, wondering what I'm ordering. Listen, I'm not doing that. That's noise to me. I got to get New Yorkers to eat a plant-based centered life. And if that's not an answer that people accept, then it's cool with me.
But you described yourself as vegan, and there's vegans who do not eat animal-based protein.
Thank you. I answered the question. I answered you.
So first off, definitely seems like the reporters were more concerned with catching him in a lie rather than the ethics of eating fish. Politicians are often seen as being shady, shisty, saying one thing and doing another, this sort of do as I say, not as I do mentality. And I think that's really what the reporters are trying to call out. You know, you're saying this and you're telling us to do this, but then you're doing that. And Mayor Adams was clearly pretty perturbed at the line of questioning. A lot of what he said kind of was just him talking in circles. He just kept repeating this talking point of, I eat a plant-based centered life, which grammatically doesn't make sense. He obviously meant I eat a plant-based centered diet or I live a plant-based centered life, but he literally repeated that phrase 6 times. He also said vegans eat Oreos and Coke, which pretty sure most of us don't, but okay. To me, that came across as a bit of a, almost like a dig at vegans. Like, no, vegans are like junk food addicts. I'm this pure plant-based person, not a vegan who eats crap. To me, he was saying pretty loud and clear here, I am plant-based for health reasons. Therefore, I don't think it should be super shocking that he sometimes eats broiled fish when he goes out for dinner, because that more closely aligns with whole food, healthful eating than with veganism, and he seems to align more with whole food, healthful eating than with veganism. He gave this statement to Veg News where he said, "Let me be clear, changing to a plant-based diet saved my life, and I aspire to be plant-based 100% of the time. I want to be a role model for people who are following or aspire to follow a plant-based diet, but as I said, I am perfectly imperfect and have occasionally eaten fish." So again, out of excitement for a politician who doesn't eat animal products, some publications kind of jumped the gun and made the leap from him saying, I eat a plant-based diet, to he's vegan. And I've talked about this a few times on my channel, how labeling doesn't matter that much to me. Like, for example, if someone wants to call themselves vegan, but maybe we see a few things that are like, are you sure that's vegan? Are you sure that's vegan? I don't really think it's productive to sort of call them out or shame them for it. But in this case, we as the public, as vegan media, have labeled a person who, to my knowledge, only ever said he was plant-based as a vegan. And then we end up holding him to this standard of veganism, which is a much higher standard, a much more high stakes standard than plant-based. And ultimately my question is, does it really matter that much if he's vegan or if he's plant-based or if he is plant-based and occasionally eats fish? He's enacted so many programs to help people with their health in a meaningful way. He's providing education, he's providing access, he's providing resources. And these things are all really important, and it seems like they're really making a difference. And I get that it's more about the deception of like, this is how I eat and this is how you should eat, but like actually I really eat like this. But again, we sort of amplified this narrative about him that was never even true in the first place. I think what he's doing and how he lives his life is certainly adjacent to veganism and in support of veganism, even if it's not completely in line with it. And I think that's okay. I think we can still celebrate him and everything he's doing as a win for the vegan movement. The bottom line is, I am less concerned with whether or not a public figure is actually vegan than I am on the positive impact that they're having on the world, whether that's enacting public policies that are showing more and more people the benefits of plant-based eating and having a positive effect on public health, or showcasing the benefits of a plant-based diet through sheer athletic greatness. And in the case of a Hollywood celebrity like Leonardo DiCaprio, who has never publicly stated whether or not he's vegan, but has been rumored to be, it doesn't really matter to me if he is or not. He's invested so much money into vegan companies, he's produced vegan documentaries, he basically dedicates his entire public platform to climate activism. Everything he represents publicly makes him a vegan ally to me. At the end of the day, I think we really don't want to foist being representatives of the vegan movement onto people who don't want that. It seems like we just really want to make people vegan heroes, even if maybe they're just plant-based and they're heroic in other ways, but not necessarily vegan. So those are all my thoughts on the topic. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you next time. Bye!